Hello, Ray. I did not realize that you were a big Zelda fan. I am also a very, very big Zelda fan. In your vlog, you mentioned that you've played almost all of the handhelds, but less of the console games. I'm the exact opposite. I've only recently started playing the handheld versions, Spirit Tracks, Phantom Hourglass. Those two I have played. I haven't played any handheld Zelda game before that, so it's kind of cool to me that while we are both definitely Zelda fans, we have kind of divergent experiences on the matter. So I'll be interested to see how different our impressions are of A Link to the Past 2. In particular, A Link to the Past 1 is maybe my favorite game of all time. I would be similar to Reggie Fils-Aimé, then if that's how if that is the case. I'm not positive. I'm not a big list maker or organizer of my loves. I just like to love things and love that I love them rather than organizing them into these little lists or bests or even game of the year is like not something that I really do. I'm starting to do it this year because I know Bioshock Infinite is the top of that list right now, and something huge is gonna have to come along to dethrone that. But this is about Zelda. Zelda 1 was probably one of the first games that I played. That was in my house from as early as I even tried playing gaming. I have an older brother, his name's Sam. He's 10 years older than me, and because of him, we had a Nintendo Entertainment System in the house. My cat's over here clawing at the But he, yeah, so we had games around like Super Mario Brothers, Zelda, Duck Hunt. I love me some Duck Hunt, guys. Um, but Zelda, so like the original NES Zelda, I don't remember getting into that much. But A Link to the Past for sure, 100%. I remember both playing that game and watching my brother playing it, and just being absolutely engrossed by it. The story, the different dungeons, everything about it, the items that you get along the way that give you these new capabilities. It's certainly an action RPG, an action role playing game, but it's not really about getting more powerful. There are upgrades like that. You get better swords, you get better armor, but more than that, you get the ability to explore new places. So it's sort of almost a top down. I'm going to throw out a term I've used before, Metroidvania. It's almost a top down Metroidvania type game. And that's also true of like Metroidvania could sort of be used in some sense to describe all of The Legend of Zelda, because there's almost always things that you can see that you can't get, that you have to go and get a new ability and come back to in order to have access to, in order to discover. And that's a really addicting thing to me, is knowing that there's something out there that I can't quite get yet. But if I keep playing for a bit longer, I can find out what it is and go check it out. That's a really big hook for me for the Legend of Zelda series, as well as just like the great gameplay, the great combat, the interesting character and level design, different enemies, and cactuses that electrocute you, stuff like that. Um, Also, A Link to the Past was my first experience with like this sort of light world, dark world dynamic that they have going on, where there's differences between the light and the dark world, but you can change things in one, and that changes in the other one as well. So there's also like that was another really cool element of discovery to me in that game, is that you could see like a person, a character, and then you could go into the dark world and see what that person looks like in the dark world, and how them and their surroundings have changed. I really liked that about A Link to the Past in particular. But across all the Zelda games, I think it's just that set of characters, the villain, the princess, and not really like even like the princess. Zelda's not that often a damsel in distress. She's very often her own character that provides support to Link, gives him advice, gives him information about how they can both defeat Ganon. So I really like her character, and then because she is the Triforce of Wisdom after all, right? It makes sense that she lets Link know how to go do these things. She provides him with counsel, rather than just 100% being Princess Peach, where you're just a princess that's trapped. That's your whole character. And then of course Link being the hero, being not just a hero, but the hero of courage, right? You're pretty much just a dude, and you face insurmountable, super scary odds in the form of lava-filled dungeons and super obnoxious bats that it's hard to hit. So yeah, I think that's really kind of what I love about it, is just like the everything of Zelda. I guess in part this vlog was spurred on by seeing a comment on Reddit asking, "What's the deal with the Zelda games? A lot of people seem to like them, but I don't really know. I haven't played them." And yeah, I wanted to kind of to a certain extent provide that input of, as a Zelda fan, what do I love about the Zelda games as a whole, because they're very diverse. I mean, recently they've definitely fallen into this 3D action RPG formula, but not the 2D handheld games, and I happen to love those as well. Actually, no, I have not played Spirit Tracks. That was a lie. I've played Phantom Hourglass. I haven't played Spirit Tracks. What's my deal? But they have very similar art designs and very similar gameplay, and that's not usually the case across two different Zelda games. Whatchamacallit? Twilight Princess has a very different art style from Skyward Sword, for instance. And Skyward Sword is similar to Wind Waker, but it has a very different art style as well. It has a different art style from Ocarina of Time, certainly from A Link to the Past. So these handheld games that are sort of keeping the same art style, and it sort of does look like A Link to the Past is going in that direction as well. A Link to the Past 2, rather. That's sort of been a weird thing to me, because in the past I've really enjoyed the different ideas, the different artistic designs and graphical interpretations of the Zelda franchise that we've gotten in different installments. But nonetheless, I'm super excited. I love that universe. I love the universe of A Link to the Past. I love the storyline. I love the start of the game even. Of just starting out and your uncle's been stabbed. Oh man, it's great. It's a fantastic game. It starts on a much more human level than the Zelda games usually start, and that's one of the things that I really like about it. This vlog's getting a little bit long, but I'm going to leave you with one last little tidbit about me, which is that Corey's got a close friend. Her name's Karen. She has a brother named Ben, and Ben and I were talking about Zelda games because we found we both love Zelda games, and he was like, "Yeah, Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time. It's the best game of all time. Best game of all time, period, for sure." And I was like, "Oh, I really like it. It's one of my favorite games of all time for sure, but A Link to the Past is really, really good, man. It's not 3D, but a lot of the stuff from Ocarina of Time was straight up lifted from A Link to the Past, first off. The different items, a lot of the different enemies, and, even some of the same dungeon designs show up in both. And I just, A Link to the Past hits me a lot closer. So that would be my primary contender against Ocarina of Time for best game of all time. And he was like, "Yeah, I haven't played it. I don't like 2D games, and I'm not gonna. But Ocarina of Time is the best game of all time." And it was like, it got heated. It got heated between us because he was saying that this game he's never played is worse than Ocarina of Time, which, it's not like that's even bad. Ocarina of Time is such a great game, and there's so many games that I've never played that I would dismiss as being worse than it. But to me, it was just like, come on, man, it's the same series. You've got to check out A Link to the Past. It's so good. You've just got to get over the fact that it's 2D. And by the way, who just doesn't like 2D games? I can't relate to that because I grew up with 2D games, I guess. But maybe there's a lot of people out there that don't like 2D games. Whatever, that's fine. In retrospect, I feel like he was actually being pretty reasonable, but at the time I was just 100% like, you can't possibly say it's the best game of all time without playing A Link to the Past, man. A Link to the Past is too good. You can't just dismiss it. But I guess, whatever. Preferences are preferences. There can be no debate in matters of taste. And he didn't like the fact that A Link to the Past was 2D. That's fine. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.